Well, here we are, I'm back. Putting the A340 onto the 1JZ. This is the 1JZ, by the way. Nice and fresh. That's the A340, also nice and fresh. Doesn't look as fresh, but it's fresh. Trust me. So I'm gonna mount the, I've already had the motor in once today, just have a quick look, to see what we can use. I think I've worked out something with the mounts, but we'll get back to that. So the A340 onto the back of the 1JZ with this concoction of plates here. Normal Toyota style. I'm guessing it didn't fit, so I'm going to be bothered making a flex plate that fits. Who knows? Anyway, it comes with these spacers, and they're going to go on there. One on the back by the looks of it. I mean, that's pretty normal. It's sort of like a washer under the heads of the bolts. That is a spacer. So I'm hoping we need that, and it was part of it, but I'm not sure. I might do some research. I'll put that on there if we don't need it. It looks like it's been on there before though, so I'll find that out. I'll put that back on. But yeah, so I'm going to put the gearbox on this time. I'm going to stick it back in the hole. I'm going to use a ratchet strap to hold it up through the transmission tunnel, a piece of wood, and have another look at these mounts, and I'll show you when it's in there what we're going to do with those mounts, or what I think we're going to do. Okay, confirmed. It is in fact right. So if you're wondering, the spacer goes on, then the flex plate. See those little raised feet for a torque converter. Oops, sorry. Like that. This fella goes like that with the flared bit on the outside, facing towards the transmission. There you go. All right, I'm gonna thread lock some bolts and jam them in. Motor's in again. So let's use the combination of the crane and my wife to get that in. First little hurdle though, so I got the hoist up a little bit. Use the jack to get the gearbox up. I didn't want to take it all out in the hoist with the motor just resting on that bracket. I put that little crossbar, you can see it there in the front back in. They've put some bolts through there with some nylocks on the other end, I can only guess, to stop the engine mount from snapping, or the gearbox mount from snapping, but that's hitting on the cross member. So I think I've got to take that mount off, or get the other one, the W58 for now, and put it on. Come back to that, might have to. Don't know if that's necessary or not. We'll find out. So none of that nonsense worked. The gearbox mounts are different. They mount into the box, to be expected, I suppose. And I want this motor to go back a bit. There's still a big hole up there, big gap. Everything clears though, so you can see everything's got clearance. The mounts are really close. So that's the Supra top, that alloy part, onto the thing. Even though they're at different angles, I could make that up with a little plate at the bottom, then use the Volvo mount, which is really common for conversions. It's a round mount, 2 threads at each end. But what I'm gonna have to do now is lower it down onto the jack. I'm just gonna move this cross member back 1 bolt, so we've still got something for the gearbox to sit on, so we can move the gearbox back. I think we're just gonna make a gearbox cross member eventually, but at the moment we'll just move that hole to there. That'll move the mount back, and that'll let us move the motor back. So at the moment I just moved the motor back with a pry bar. I just slid back this piece of wood that I jammed up here, which was actually working out to be almost the right height for the mount to be back in there too, if it did fit. So the mount's different here. You can see I tried to slot it, but then it hits on the actual frame of the cross member, so the A340 mount didn't fit. So what we're going to do is move that back, like I said, and then slide the motor back to get it closer to the firewall, make it look a bit better position. And then from there we'll look at how we're going to make a gearbox cross member. We've got our trusty bit of wood there, the slide. The first problem is going to be the speedo cable. You see, kind of hard to see on that angle. I want to bring the motor back a bit more, and I think it should pretty much work. Maybe a bit of panel beating on this bit of inner floor. All the clearances are good. I think we've still got some room up the top there. I'll take it down and have a look, but you can see just in there, daylight, a fair bit of it. So this, hang on, I'll get this better. There we go. This thing here, support that Toyota's put in, it's hitting on the sump. I mean, it'd be good to retain this, so what I might do is just press it flat. That'll give us that little bit more that we need. And the motor will have to come up. So the gearbox is up pretty close to where it's got to go. Couldn't really go up any higher. And that's the gearbox back on those last mounts to just give us some room, just for now. But you can see how close the Supra mount lines up. And those mounts I was talking about, the round ones, the Volvo mounts, they're only 45 millimeters high, which is about the distance in there once you pick it up off the steering rack. So, but you can see there's a difference in angle. And the way we'd fix that is by putting a little plate on the bottom, just there. That would copy the angle of the mount. That way the bush, the new mount, wouldn't sit on an angle or anything. How good is this? No, not long enough. No, still not long enough. No, still not long enough. Anyway, so yeah, we'll do that. Have a look at that. The other benefit is I noticed that the Supra front part of the tail shaft, it was really close to lining up. It was probably sticking out a little bit too far out of the gearbox, more than you like, but the center bearing lined up with this. So this could all work out pretty good with just a fabricated gearbox cross member. I'm going to take it down and have a look at how close the rocker cover is to the firewall. So you can see how nice and level it's sitting, even though it's sitting on that steering rack. It's come up a little bit. Got a fairly, I think there's anything that runs around the back of the 1JZ. Can't think of anything. It's not saying there isn't, but it's pretty straight. It's a little bit leaning down on the passenger side, but might be able to work that out so you get the mounts on. So I think we can come back a bit. It's only going to help it. And then that's how close we are. So the mount I'm talking about using is just a round mount. It's about 75, 76 millimeters round, and it just has a thread on each end, totally like parallel, lined up to each other. So one thread goes in there, one thread goes in there, and the rubber in the middle. Used a lot on conversion kits. It's a Volvo mount. It's very similar to the one used on Escorts and Cortinas as well. So the Volvo one's a little bit higher, 45 mil. So that's where that's at. I think I'm going to remove that bar, push the motor back a little bit more, take that bar down to the press and try and press some of it up. I'll be back. Of course, of course. I'm too short, I'm going to take it back up to get to those. So, I've moved it back as far as I want it to go. We'll have to move this brake line up and chop that part off. Let's miss that heater pipe. The mounts line up. I've got these 40mm of wood in there to make the spacer, just to get the motor to sit flat and to work out the exact height that I need there. Sitting really straight now. I'm pretty happy with that, so I think we'll work out which mounts we need and then build the gearbox cross member off that. Well, since I'm here ticking boxes on the Supra build, I thought we should take a moment to have a look at the header flange that I ordered off eBay from a company called ECS. Just have a look at the quality of it, all that sort of stuff. I've removed the outer packaging, obviously, still in the plastic bag. This thing shipped real fast. So there's the brand, ECS exhaust from New South Wales, I believe. It was here pretty quick, quicker than most things I get in the mail, that's for sure. And obviously packaged well, undamaged. Well, you'd hope so. It'd take a bit to damage that, but we have seen some things damaged in the past. So yeah, I'll get out the plastic and we'll have a look at it. So this flange from ECS is 12mm thick, mild steel. If you're wondering, yes, JZ port, one JZ exhaust ports are that small. And yes, the center ports are a different shape. So yeah, I'll whack it on. You can see how it fits, but see how straight it is out of the bag. This will be the base to our turbo manifold that we'll build for this. I'm going to bang it on and we'll have a look. That's on there, went on nice and easy. The stud holes aren't too oversized, so that's good. It doesn't move out of place too much. The ports do, might be a bit hard to see. Obviously the 1JZ port itself is smaller than the manifold, that's not an issue. Yeah, so it looks pretty flat up against the head. But that brings us to the real reason why we're here anyway, and that is to get some new fasteners for this manifold we're building. Yeah, so overall, that was, the cost wasn't much at all. It was actually pretty cheap. Quality's great. Delivery was awesome. And, you know, it fits as it should. No issue there. So yeah, 100% ECS exhaust. So you can check them out, I suppose. Move right along, working out which fasteners we need. Something else we should probably take a look at is this little fella here that I picked up, the 1JZ, Radium Engineering fuel rail. This is a pretty fine piece actually. There's probably not anything bad about this one. I mean, it's a pretty expensive piece for what it is. It does have 8 orb 8, which is 8AN-8, AN8, whatever you want to call it. It's got 3 of those fittings, so 1 on each end. Another here, another here. My guess is that's, you know, a bonus, right? It does come, the hardware supplied does have these little adapters, obviously for the height of the injector that you're going to use. Most injectors now come with, you know, adapters anyway. It does come with the little plugs for the old injector ports on that part of the intake manifold. They're obviously pretty high quality as well. So yeah, this is for a 1JZ non-VVTi engine. They have a huge range. I mean, and I'm guessing the quality doesn't differ. This is like I said, this is a pretty nice piece. We'll get to fitting that up after we've got some new fasteners. I've just been cleaning up the engine parts as I go. So lots of So back to the exhaust. You can see, there's not much light, is there? The focus on there. you can see that these studs are going to be too short. It'd be good to use studs. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, this should be plenty of clearance there. We're talking about these ports are less than an inch. All right, so the dogs aren't going to stop barking. Let's just get on with it. Yeah, so studs obviously ideal for this because you have less, you know, it's a lot easier to do up the bolts once the manifold's been made. So we need to work out how much longer we need those studs to be. You can see they're a little bit short. So we'll do a quick measurement, add it to our list. Got a list of stainless fasteners for the intake side. So we'll need to slowly work our way through the whole thing as we put it together. Make a fastener kit for it. And I am still waiting for those engine mounts so that we can move on down there as well. I might pop those engine mounts off and give them a clean if we're going to use them. Obviously the rock covers will need to paint, they're pretty ghetto looking. Might get some AN fittings welded on there before we go too far with it. Maybe some dash 10s on a catch can over the other side there somewhere, out of the way. Now we've got this fuel roller. I think this cute little guy's not going to cut it. I mean, these fittings are pretty small. So we might need to ditch that as well. I know we said we're going to try and use it, but I don't think it's worth it. So that's where we're at today. Get some fasteners in the morning. Get on with it, I guess. Well, the weather today is feral. But I'm going to do what I can do, which is on the Supra, which is tail shaft. Work out if I can, first pull this one apart. The original tail shaft. See if I can mate it up to the Supra tail shaft. So here's the original Supra tail shaft from the 1GG. It's a pretty hardcore item considering how underpowered the 1GG was. But obviously this part here, the output of the gearbox is different between the W58. Lengthwise, the way it's set up now under the car, take it up and have a look, I think I already showed that. This kind of lines up, the centre bearing lines up, so first thing I'm going to do is take this off the flange and see if that's the same stud pattern as the Supra one, and then just kind of work out what we can do before we go and, you know, chop and balance and change. We might get lucky, but let's have a look. Got the Supra shaft back out, the half shaft, the front half of the tail shaft, and so far so good. So that's the piece we want to keep. That goes to the diff that's in there, and these are the same, so the bolt holes line up, same dimensions and everything, same depth. Now what I'm hoping is I can retain this much beefier, better looking centre bearing that mounts on the floor here. We're gonna have to modify it then. Hopefully, if we take this off, the Supra one, to make it look like the Supra one looks now with the coupling and everything off it and the bearing, maybe this will all go back together. And then maybe we won't have to make a tail shaft, because I moved the motor far enough back that the mounts lined up, if you remember, and that I was close to the firewall rather than having it hanging out the front like they normally do. And the distance from there to there definitely closed up, which is what I was after. Also, moving it back gave us room for the speedo cable to go on if we need that, which we probably will. It's a bit close here, but we can do a bit of body work if we have to, but it's still, with a nice solid mount, that should be sufficient. Well, that's a lot of good news in one day, isn't it? That fits, that's good. That's good. That all bolted together, that coupling and everything was spot on. All the dimensions were the same, depths, everything the same. That's the coupling off the Supra, the 1GG original tail shaft. That's the centre bearing off the 1GG. That's the front part of the shaft off the Supra. And obviously that's the Supra output, or yoke, universal. So yeah, that's in. Look at that. So, now, nothing retarded happens. That should, nothing bad happens, that should just go in there. Let's find out. It's a little fatty, and chuck him in. Would you come and have a look at this? Look at that. Huh? Don't let me forget to put those bolts in, eh? Might be a bit of a spicy dyno run. Little first test drive after a dyno tune. Might get a bit wild. Anyway, let's put those in there so it didn't fall on my head. And obviously the other 4 bolts are in the boot and the car's on the hoist, because, you know. Anyway, that's it. Look at that. That's gonna work. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Might have to go through and replace all the universals in this at some stage. But centre bearing not broken. Well, obviously not. It looks like it's coming out of a truck. And yeah, I guess we'll keep the 1GG one, because if anything goes wrong with this little twig, we'll be able to use this part here to make a better one. And no, I couldn't just swap the universals, because they are different. Like literally, this looks like it's out of a truck. This looks like it was out of a, I don't know, motorbike or something. Anyway, here we are. Back onto this gearbox cross member. I wish I could flip it, but I can't. It's got a high side and a low side, or a low side and a high side, either way you want to look at it. Can't be done. Still not enough that far back. So, slice and dice, or make a mount, or obviously start again. But I was going to say there's a bit of meat here to make a new mount, but I mean, that's a lot of work. Well, I'm gonna have to think about that. I'll get back to you with it. But that's where we're at. Tail shaft that works, no fabrication needed. I'm just gonna have a quick think about this. I'm sure you guys don't want to see that. Just got those marbles just rolling around in my head. I know, right? You're thinking, what is this idiot doing? Well, since I've got the wood in there to replicate our 45mm engine mounts that are not here in the post, I don't want the engine to fall out when I pull that gearbox cross member off. So, because of just slip on this wood. So I'm going to drill a hole right through and bolt it together. What do you think? Yeah, not so stupid now. It's probably still going to fall out, but anyway. I've got to the A70 drills. That's our best bet. Just gonna find a nut for it. That's where you spend half your life, just looking for bolts and tools. This wind. Left-handed as well. Alright, 2 hands for beginners. Got it in. Just need to move it a little bit. So we're still got our 45, 46 mil just there. So, we'll take it back. Oh no! Whew. Take it back up. And put these nuts on, and then muck around with a gearbox. Except for I don't know what to do with the other nut. It's about as dodgy as it gets, but that's what we got to work with. So that's how we're holding the gearbox up. You can use whatever you want, I guess, if you're going to do this. Piece of wood, bit of timber, ratchet strap. Good ratchet strap to the steering wheel. Seen that before. Sketchy. Yeah, so the 1/2 inch breaker bar on the chain, some D shackles, see if it doesn't fall on my head. Good news for some of you, didn't fall on my head. I've just got up the other bolt, centered the gearbox again. Even though it doesn't look center, it's centered with the motor between the rails. I don't know if the rails are centered, you know, you'd hope so, you'd think so. It's Toyota, who knows. Off the rails, that's the center of the gearbox. Looks like the center of the gearbox. It actually is. The body of the gearbox sort of goes that way a bit, so that side's slightly wider. Anyway, that's centered. Oh, close enough, very close to it. We really can't use that standard mount. I tried, in my head it doesn't work, so that means it doesn't work right. So I think I'm going to go 70mm flat bar, slice, get the curve, weld, get the flat bar up here somewhere, and then plate off the floor utilising the factory bolts, and then we'll work out how close it's going to come to the plate there. Just if we use the old, this fella, give me 1 second. If you use this as a rough guide, you can see we're probably going to be fine on that side, that the plate will meet up back here. Should meet up pretty much perfect if we had another bit of flat bar there. And then this side, look, it's going to be alright too, it's just going to be pushing it. But, you know, could space that side a little bit, maybe. I'm going to make a cardboard template and check it out. Now we can get a better visual, and we've got some templates, but that's how that side will look. And this side, same. And take a couple of mil off here though. Take a little bit off because the gearbox did drop down on the chain. So we'll go up to make up for that. For whatever reason, this side here is crooked. That side's straight. This side's on an angle. I'm guessing it's meant to be like that. Toyota made it like that. Don't know, they might have been on some gear or something. Anyway, so that side falls down. Goes down like that. That side's flush. So they'll have a reason. Won't be logical, but they'll have a reason. And we'll just have to work with it. So we'll have that plate. Once we cut that plate out, we'll screw it onto the bolt onto the car. And then we'll make all these parts and we'll weld it just like this. So in 3 pieces. These will go in the car, be bolted in. We'll bend this plate up, and when it's right, we'll weld it. Might even put a little cap on the end, see what it looks like, but we're using pretty thick flat bars, so won't really need it. We could even bend down the insides, I suppose. Don't know. Might be better just to cap it if we're worried about it. Well, that's our templates. So, that looks pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of work there. Yeah, we need to work out the speedo cable. I'm hoping that because they've got the joiner here and the manual one was really short and it was just on this side of the gearbox, that maybe there's an auto one that goes around. Might have to look into that. If anybody knows, comment below, because that'd be a great help. I think I'm going to have to crack the welder out, get the grinder out, cut some flat bar, get that done. I'm going to pull this thing apart now and then make it out of steel. Bring it back, weld it up. Bob's your auntie. Alright, so I went down the back, turned these bits of cardboard into metal. It's obviously hanging a bit low because the chain at the gearbox fall down. That's why I took a couple of extra mils off here. So once that goes up, back where it was meant to be, this will line up. But that's the idea of it all. We just need to get some welds on it. So you can see that crooked mount. It's kind of going to stop us from doing it out of the car, so we'll have to get the gearbox back up and tag it up and then take it out and weld it out. I'll have to weld in here where I made the bends. We'll have to weld in there to strengthen that back up. I might put those bolts back in there until we get a good mount. Yeah, they look like they aren't going to last that long anyway. A good one, so I might just leave the bolts in there. That's where we're at with that. Still can't believe that tail shaft went in. Just like that. Just like that. So it's all in position. Got a jerry rigged, ready to weld. Once it's all welded, I'll slot these holes up here, so we've got a bit more flexibility with the mount and the engine. Obviously, the engine bay. Move forward or backwards a little bit. We'll get that welded up and give it a paint. Moving right along. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video. Gearbox mounts in. Nice and pretty. I think I'm probably going to need to space it a little bit at the end. Pull the tail shaft back out, line it up. But yeah, gearbox mount. That's what we came here to do. And the engine mounts. So after some mucking around, we got those mounts in there. Sit nice and flush where we wanted them. Using those Volvo engine mounts. It's a 1441 if anybody's looking for it. And the Mackay brand. Like I said, it has been used a lot for conversions. I've used it myself a lot. It's pretty, yeah. We'll probably put some little locking tabs on it to stop the mount from, if the mount breaks. Lots of engine mounts have that. We'll just weld a little tab top and bottom to stop it from opening up. So it'll still work as a mount, but just when it gets to a certain height, it'll lock on so it won't break the rubber. because they don't have anything in them. They're just literally just rubber cast onto the metal plates. So yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Like and subscribe. I think the boys are going to go to Power Cruise, so hopefully we'll get some footage of that. Maybe Barry's taking this Famlet against Ben's Famlet, where he doesn't get his ass kicked like in the XD. Anyway, thanks for stopping by.